find that most people that come to us and say they're depressed are actually not depressed. Instead, they really have, as Thomas Saz would say when talking about psychology, is that they rather have a problem with living. They have a problem with living a good life. And that, of course, is depressing in itself. But not necessarily depression, which is, of course, really difficult to diagnose. The criteria are quite difficult to work with as well. Rather, a lot of these people have difficulty with leading a good, healthy, balanced life with positive thinking, positive emotions, positive actions and consequences. They battle to self-regulate themselves and in turn suffer a life of feeling like they're not getting anywhere, like they're not achieving, which we call the prison of the personality. So you might not necessarily be depressed. You might rather not understand yet how to relax yourself properly, how to feed yourself properly, how to connect with others properly, and why that is necessary for happiness. So if you haven't learned these things yet, suffering is inevitable. When you're feeling depressed, you don't simply sit back and become a victim and say, I've been bitten by the proverbial black dog and I'm depressed. No, you get up today. You get up and you actualize your full potential 1 minute, 1 moment, 1 hour, and then 1 day at a time. And you get back into a growth mindset. You know, we're either growing or we're dying in some way. We literally need to feed neural networks that are in our prefrontal cortex, which is about 40% of the brain. But in that cortex where creativity and gratitude and self-regulation live, you're not going to find judgment, bitterness, and victim mentality. It simply just lives in another part of the brain. And when you're operating from one part, you can feel depressed and another happy. So the work, like everything, remains, even with our mental health, to get from A to B. And how we do that is through the paradigm process, by eliminating, by getting rid of our ego insurgents, which hold us back, our perfectionism, our judgments, our controlling side, trying to control the uncontrollable environment in which we live, and then moving towards self-compassion, courage, healing in those ways. And we find that people overcome in very short spaces of time. And what they believed was a stroke of bad luck with depression has actually helped motivate and spark them, whether it's depression, anger, or any of those symptoms, has helped them spark growth and action potential. So at the end of the day, we need to know that there's a process when you're feeling low, when you're feeling stuck, when you're in the prison of personality, and you get out of it through hard work and effort, and on the other side, belief and faith and hope that you can actually do and accomplish these things, which we now know through the research we've done since 2012, since we opened our center. We have been measuring people who come in with thoughts, feelings, perceptions of depression, anxiety, stress, burnout, mood, personality disorder, whatever you know, suicidal thoughts, ideations even, and they come through and then maintain happiness, joy, peace when they activate that different part of the brain. So I suppose this is what they're trying to get to with medication. This is what they're trying to get to with electroshock therapy and many other extremes. But I think the work and the fastest, shortest, cheapest way often is to work internally on how we are going to externalize ourselves, how we're going to interact with the world and respond to feeling low, to stress, to pressure. And how we respond becomes our reality. it becomes first our attitude, our mood, our traits, our personality, and then of course it becomes our reality. So the way out of anything is through, not around, not by avoiding. And that's what almost everybody who comes to the center for healing for these things has been doing. They've been trying to avoid, put band-aids over problems and sweep things under the carpet. And of course, we know none of that works. What does work is doing the internal work. And when you do, you break open. Your mind will tell you that you're going to break down even further. You might fail. And that fear of failure might come up from rejection you experienced in your past. It might present as perfectionism and then procrastination. Just trying to mask those feelings of rejection that you never want to feel again. But in actual fact, the truth is the only thing that's going to set you free. Reality is the only way through. You cannot go around, you cannot mask, you cannot fake it till you make it. Of course, that's one way to start, but you need to go deeper than that if you want healing to hold. So transformation itself is really going above the self, to transform, to go above your form, your personality, your attitudes, traits, and access what we call your sacred self, which is really that part of you inside that is based on values, life purpose and meaning. And I think we are all rooted in love, in kindness, in purpose and meaning. But these things get heavily overshadowed as we go through life. We experience trauma, difficulties, stress. And some of us stay in those states for extended periods of time today. And just knowing that you're in a state of stress is point one. Often people find it to be the norm, but it's not the norm. It's you need refractory periods. You need a way of getting to zero. And that can be meditation, that can be contemplation, that can be some kind of practice that gets you out of monkey mind, which is, quite frankly, today no longer an option. You cannot live in extended periods of stress without severe physical, psychological, emotional consequences. We're not built for it. You're going to activate hormones, you're going to activate sides of yourself, parts of yourself that over-defend, over-analyze. And when we do that, we become obsessive, we become compulsive in our thinking. Our thinking speeds up and it creates something like shaking, anxiety, fear that is palpable in the body, the heart, and the mind.